Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Saturday morning to you all. I hope you guys are waking up and feeling awesome out there this morning and having a wonderful start to your day and a great beginning to your new weekend out there so far. There's a few things to discuss in this morning's video. We'll start off by speaking on today's weather first. We'll speak on current conditions, the latest outlooks, watches, warnings, advisories, all that stuff. And then we'll break down the country section by section. A good chunk of the country runs a risk of storms today. Some that could be strong to severe, and there is that risk of flash flooding. So we'll get detailed on many states for you folks, get you guys the best idea of what could happen in your neck of the woods for today. And then we'll speak on the days to come a little bit, and then we'll give you a lengthy update on the tropics. I continue to watch areas in the northern Gulf for tropical development. Is anything going to organize and actually gain tropical characteristics? Not quite sure. National Hurricane Center does not have an area of interest up right now, but I think regardless, it could bring a lot of rainy days ahead for areas of the southeast, especially the state of Florida. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And of course, if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, please put it in the comments below so I can pray over it. And it gives many others an opportunity to pray over it also. And I have a Bible devotion at the very end of the video if you're interested in that. So let's get rocking and rolling this morning. So this is current conditions. We got a big area of just heavy rain and storm activity ongoing across areas of Kansas. This is getting into portions of Oklahoma. We kind of have a secondary area of just scattered downpours and storms from, northeast Oklahoma, northwest Arkansas into Missouri. And we got ongoing storms kind of cruising across areas of eastern New Mexico and western areas of Texas. Even some flash flood warnings ongoing right now across areas of New Mexico. We certainly do not need that. A little bit of moisture hanging out off the coast of the southeast, the Carolinas. Big slug of moisture bringing a pretty wet and damp morning for you folks up here in the UP and northern sections of lower Michigan. A little bit of storm activity west of this area also, and Buffalo waking up to a pretty rainy start. Some of this will continue to move across western areas of New York into like Rochester, and a little bit of storm activity kind of north of Albany, New York. But that's what's going on right now. We continue to move forward here. Watches, warnings, advisories, flood watches in the greens scattered across the southern plains, the southern high plains, south central U.S. Here in the green. So a lot of rain on the way over the next couple of days, especially today. We got heat advisories up for areas of New York and the Orange counties, so pretty hot, soupy today. And the heat alerts are returning out west, where we have heat advisories, extreme heat warnings, excessive heat watches, even some red flag warnings out here in some of these hot pink color counties like up here in Montana. So that's that. The Storm Prediction Center outlook, the big area to watch for stronger severe weather activity for today is areas of the Midwest, Ohio Valley, up into eastern sections of lower Michigan. Level 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather. A marginal risk kind of does this weird hook thing up here into the UP of Michigan, into Wisconsin. Goes around the slight risk area, gets all the way into the Carolinas, Virginia, dips down to the mid and areas of the deep south. Goes across the Mississippi River over in southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, and Oklahoma, Texas, includes New Mexico, and into areas of Colorado. What's driving this risk for today? There is a 2% risk of a tornado in the furthest, I would say the most far north areas of this severe weather threat for today, which is typical where the best kinematics are, wind energy is this time of the year. And so if you live in the Bay City up to Alpena, into extreme eastern areas of the UP and Michigan, 2% risk of some of these storms producing tornadoes today within 25 miles in a given location. The wind threat is one of the things driving the slight risk today. So if you live in the yellow areas, that is a 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. And yes, this does include the big city of Detroit down to Toledo, and does include areas of Ohio, includes Columbus, Fort Wayne, Cincinnati down to Indianapolis, gets all the way down to Louisville, Evansville, Owensboro. So all these areas in yellow, 15% risk of winds exceeding 55 to 60 miles per hour. The hail threat not as big today and really confined to the northern areas of this severe weather threat. Just a respectable 5% risk of hail. So looking at the flash flooding threat today, I mean, the green area is just your kind of average, typical summer type stuff when you have a chance of storms in the summer, just a 5% risk of flash flooding. But just note, you can still get flash flooding in this green area. The big area to watch here is down here in Oklahoma, sections of Arkansas, southwest areas of Missouri, cuts, like I said, through the heart of Oklahoma, down to Dallas-Fort Worth area, right into the heart of Texas, and then kind of bends back up through areas of central and eastern New Mexico, includes a very small section of Colorado. In this region, you have a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in any given location. Now, the thing that stinks about this is this has extended into Kerrville, so they're thinking maybe a little bit more rain than previously expected could fall in some of these southern areas. We don't need the rain down here in this area. This is Kerrville right here. The last thing we need is heavy rainfall, so we'll watch that area today for sure. Now, looking at the southeast as a whole, and then we'll zoom into a couple areas. We get into this afternoon, prime heating of the day. Just like always, you get some storms firing off the mountains of North Carolina. A little bit of storm activity here also in eastern Tennessee, eastern Kentucky. A little bit of tropical rains popping off here in the southern tip of Florida. We continue to move forward here. We'll have to watch outflow boundaries that surge these strong to severe storms across the western sections of North Carolina later this afternoon. You got some storms firing here in Mississippi too. Be careful between that corridor of Jackson to Meridian. Down to Hattiesburg, some storms are possible. Storms could cruise into western Tennessee, western Kentucky. But let's go on and just zoom into a couple areas here. And we'll start off by speaking on Kentucky and Tennessee, almost called Tennessee Nashville. But Mitch, Nashville is a city, so remember that. But anyways, there is a section of northern Kentucky. It does have that slight risk. So starting off around noon, time frame up here. We take it about 3 hours past this, and as you can tell, some storms do fire in the eastern areas of Kentucky and Tennessee, but the heavier activity is up here in Illinois, Indiana, which we'll zoom into here in a second. And some of these storms will eventually get into Paducah, northwest, western areas of Kentucky as we get later into the evening. This is 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, but it does look like these storms kind of fizzle out by the time you get later in the evening. So maybe Bowling Green up to Lexington. Maybe you guys don't see much of this because the storms might weaken, but it does show some storms maintaining down here in western areas of Tennessee, Jackson, Dyersburg. Just be mindful of these storms later on this evening, but that's about all it shows. It does show some more downpours popping up between Elizabethtown and Lexington later tonight, 4 a.m. in the morning, so could get some heavy rain, but I doubt these will be too crazy as far as severe the severe category. So Virginia, North Carolina today, starting off around lunchtime. If you are heading up to the mountains or anything like that or vacationing, just be mindful of heavy rain and storms popping up early in the afternoon. This is typical summer type stuff. These storms get going here, produce a lot of heavy rainfall. And can produce frequent lightning. Just take lightning serious, guys. If thunder roars, go indoors, as they say. So take that serious. Sometimes you can get struck by lightning, and the actual storm is maybe several miles away. It happens every summer. It's already happened this summer. But some storms popping up also along the foothills and mountains of Virginia. You keep this until about 5, 6, 7 o'clock. Looks like a very stormy afternoon and evening across areas of western North Carolina into Charlotte, Greenville, Spartanburg. We'll probably get some storms later this evening. This is 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock. And it does show this activity sort of fizzling out. But these storms could produce a lot of heavy rainfall. Not a huge risk of flash flooding, but just note, let's look at how much rain the HRRR model is showing for some of these storms in this area today. Let's go all the way out to tomorrow morning. You see how, and this goes out to, about tomorrow morning. You see how these storms are producing, 2, 3, 4 inches of rain in and around the Asheville area. So I'm telling you, these storms are going to drop a lot of heavy rainfall. It's just where exactly do they form? So I wouldn't be surprised if we get some flash flood warnings in areas of western North Carolina and just some flooding potential in this area right into here of the Carolinas. So see these pockets of, purple and red, that's 2 to 3 inches of rain. So just be mindful of that. if sometimes you'll get these storms, they don't move a whole lot over your area, and they can drop a quick 1 to 2 inches of rain. But the Northeast today, we move into the afternoon hours, some storms popping up along the valley region of New York. Could get some storms here around Scranton, PA. Some storms will be flying through areas of Vermont and New Hampshire today, maybe into western Maine. So might end up getting a marginal risk issued for this area for those storms that could form. And we'll zoom into that area here in a second. Additional storms kind of form, south of the Tug-Hill Plateau, maybe right outside the Syracuse area. And then we get into tomorrow morning. But just to zoom into a couple areas, and let's start off with Ohio. Start off with here. We start off around 1 p.m. It doesn't show much storm coverage in Ohio. This is 5 p.m. But just note that this model guidance is just guidance. It's not going to be exactly right every time. It never is. But it tries to give us the best idea where storms will form. So just know that if you live in the northwestern areas of Ohio, these storms that do form could pack a punch. They could hit severe limits, damaging winds, frequent lightning, some flooding, some hail is possible with these. 6 p.m., 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Just doesn't show a lot in the way of widespread activity, but you get an 8, 9 p.m., maybe some more storm action begins to move in. Cincinnati, Dayton, up to Columbus, up to Toledo, Bowling Green. Some more storm activity could move in then. 11 o'clock, midnight, after midnight tonight, things look to calm on down. Secondary area I want to watch that only has a general risk of thunderstorms right now. This is around 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m. So you see some storms forming around Burlington down to Rutland. Robin, be careful. Some storms later this evening. 8 p.m., 9 p.m. Just a lot of downpour activity. And these could produce a lot of rainfall. So I'll have to see if they do kind of pump out a marginal risk in this area for later on this afternoon, this evening. So just be watching for storms in western areas of New York through Vermont, New Hampshire, and western Maine for today. Running out of breath here. This morning, starting it off in the south central U.S., we do have the areas of rain that we just spoke on. Her model doing an okay job at showing us where this is, but there's going to be a lot of different areas of storms today that form. So this is 3, 4 o'clock this afternoon. You got an area of storms in western Texas. Big, just unorganized cluster of storms and pretty much a good chunk of Oklahoma into areas of southern Kansas. You got this area of storms also in southern Missouri, some stuff scattered about in Arkansas, eastern Texas, Louisiana. And then we take it into about 8 o'clock this evening. You got this organized area of storms down here in Texas. We got storms clustering up here deep down in southwest Texas. We got some storms in central, really anywhere in Arkansas, the Boot Hill, Missouri. Just stuff everywhere, right? So just to kind of zoom into a couple of these areas, let's talk about, Let's talk about Colorado first, because you guys do have a risk of severe weather. Just be careful. Along the Front Range, these storms could fire, produce a lot of small hail. It does this a lot in Colorado. These storms produce hail very easily. And you see this storm complex kind of heading south into like Trinidad. We got some storms near Colorado Springs. So be careful of those storms later this evening around dinner time that kind of cruise down the Front Range north to south. And then we take a look at Oklahoma. I mean, this is starting off mid-morning, and then we get to lunchtime. It's going to be tough to figure out exactly where these storms form, because the storms moving through right now kind of going to leave leftover boundaries in the atmosphere. These storms will fire. These boundaries will provide lift. And we could get definitely a lot of flash flooding in Oklahoma today. I mean, this is 2 p.m. You see storms just popping up really anywhere. The only area I would say in Oklahoma that might not get as much storm action is maybe the Panhandle. But you see all kinds of storm action. I mean, especially 2 to 4 o'clock. Looks like Oklahoma City, Stillwater, Norman, Lawton starts to get hit pretty hard by some intense storms. And I'm talking about a severe weather outbreak or anything. Technically, there's only a marginal risk in place. But I wouldn't be surprised if they end up putting a slight risk in place for some of these areas. We get into 7 p.m., 8 p.m., storms still dancing around. You notice how these storms kind of take a while to move kind of west to east across these areas. But we get to 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. I'm sorry, this is midnight. And then we get into the overnight hours, and then we get more rain that gets going again here in the eastern areas of Oklahoma, southern areas of the state. So we'll stop it here. I do want to show you what the HER model was showing as far as rainfall between now and the next about 24 hours. Listen, some of these areas going for over 4 to 5 inches of rain. I mean, this is a lot of rain in this area based off this model run. Okay, I mean, these red areas over 2 inches of rain. These little splotches of yellowish orange areas is where over 4 inches of rain is being forecast off this model. Now, if you take a look at the Weather Prediction Center, this is made by humans. Where you at? Where you at? All right, get this off my screen. We'll get it right here. We go over the next about 36 hours. I mean, it's going for a lot of rain too, especially down here in southern areas and eastern areas of Oklahoma. This is where 2 to 4 inches of rain could fall. So a lot of rain's coming for Oklahoma. Now, moving over to Arkansas, starting off around midday, some storms already near the Fort Smith area, western areas of the state, but some storms going to start to fire down here near El Dorado also. Same thing as Oklahoma, just not as widespread in coverage. I mean, we got some storms up here near the Ozarks. Looks like Little Rock kind of escaping the storm activity initially. And then we get more storms that kind of form in the central areas of the state later this evening. It's 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11. And then maybe a more organized area of storms moves into the western areas of Arkansas, later tonight. I mean, this is 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., 6 a.m. And these storms could produce just all hazards. I would say the tornado threat is pretty low, though, in this area. Now, I do want to talk about New Mexico. I mean, it says starting off, even around 9, 10 o'clock, kind of the leftovers of what we're dealing with in the northeastern portion of the state right now will continue to slowly cruise down the eastern areas of the state through about lunchtime, and then it'll diminish. And then we get to 4 p.m., 5 p.m. See all the storm action getting going right through the middle of the state, Albuquerque, Santa Fe. Just know that these storms could produce flash flooding. It doesn't take much. In New Mexico, we got mountainous regions, but we get to 10 p.m., midnight. Doesn't look too crazy, but like I said, it doesn't take as much rainfall in this area to get the job done. And we will look at how much rainfall they're calling for. Not a ton, but I'll reiterate it for about the 85th time. Doesn't take much rain in these areas. But these purple areas is where over an inch of rain could fall. So just be mindful for the heavy rainfall. And I will show some love. Kerrville right here at the bottom of your screen near my face. We get to 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. You see storms, Alpine. Hopefully I said that right. Big storms popping up around top of you. I wouldn't be surprised if some slight risks get issued in this area. We got some storms, hanging out around the Pecos down up the Midland, Big Spring area, Abilene. Some storms getting close to you guys, but a lot of storms clustering up down here. Be mindful if you live here in this area of Texas. Could get a lot of heavy rainfall, a lot of strong to severe thunderstorm activity, sort of clustering up over the same area. But more storms fire. This is around 11 p.m. between Midland and San Angelo. It doesn't show much storm activity getting down to Kerrville. This is 3 o'clock in the morning. It looks like most of the action stays north, but the reason they have a slight risk of excessive rainfall all the way down to Kerrville in those areas is because, listen, model guidance, this is a tricky setup. I mean, model guidance is going to struggle trying to figure out where these clusters of storms could form. We could easily get a cluster of storms getting all the way down here later tonight. I think it really could potentially be later tonight also. But how much rain is this particular run going for? Let's take it all the way through. Just pockets of heavy rain. It's very isolated, right? If you ever get to see storms over an inch or two of rain, could fall. So we're rounding off by speaking on northern Texas, starting off around midday, some downpour activity possible over Texas, and then we take it to about 7 p.m. Big storms out near Abilene, Wichita Falls, Sherman, and then we could get some storms later tonight into the Weatherford, Dallas-Fort Worth, Cleburne area. So be mindful if you're out and about in the town late tonight in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Could get hit by some storms late this evening. This is midnight. Some storms are possible in the northeast areas of Texas. And then just more activity kind of developing tomorrow morning along the Red River area. The Texas-Oklahoma border could produce some heavy rainfall. So now the north central U.S., right around midday, I think we could have some tornado risk up here in northern lower Michigan into eastern sections of the UP. You see these storms kind of right in here. These are a bit concerning, and this is pretty early in the day too, around lunchtime, 1 p.m. I'm going to zoom into that area here in a second. And then we'll have additional storms that will try to form in the central UP down to maybe Green Bay, and some storms also forming down here in Illinois and Indiana. But listen, there's no storms really showing up kind of in the middle ground of this area, but I could see some storms forming the model guides over the last 24 hours really have not shown much. So it kind of skips some areas that have a higher risk of severe weather. I wouldn't be surprised we get some tornadoes up here in Canada today with this deepening low and this kind of tail whipping line of storms. That, to me spells some tornadoes. But you continue to move forward here. We get to the evening hours, some storms moving in and out. But giving you a state-by-state breakdown, we'll take a look at Illinois, Indiana, and then Michigan. Starting it off this morning, not a whole lot going on. And then we take it to about 3 p.m. If you live down here near Carbondale, southern areas of Illinois and Indiana, some storms will start to bubble up. And they will be strong and severe for certain areas. As always, frequent lightning, flash flooding possible. And some hail and some damaging winds is the biggest threat. But Indianapolis down to Bloomington, Evansville, 4, 5, 6 o'clock tonight. Be mindful. And then these storms will start to move more so closer to that Kentucky border. But I do think they begin to lose some steam. But watch out, Cincinnati could get hit by some of these storms around 7 to 8 o'clock. But it looks like this is kind of one clean sweep through, so that's good. That will kind of help to keep the flash flooding threat, I think, lower in this area. But we head on up to Michigan. We get to, start off 8 o'clock. We'll have some storms moving in, but I think quickly around late morning, around Traverse City, maybe points west or east, some supercells could develop, kind of north of Mount Pleasant. If you live in this section right here of lower Michigan, it's going to be probably one clean sweep through, so you don't have to deal with multiple rounds capable of producing tornadoes. But be mindful of these storms right here. They could definitely produce a tornado. I mean, this is early. This is in the next several hours. This is 1 p.m., 2 p.m., 3 p.m., and then they're kind of done. More storms could form, cross Lake Michigan, move into lower Michigan. But listen, I really think as those storms kind of midday to early afternoon, that you got to be just aware of up here. So just be mindful. If you look at, say, let's look at the updraft Felicity swath in this area, it does show some stronger rotating updrafts with some of these storms. But, I mean, it's not a hefty signal by any means. Now, the western U.S., we've already talked about Colorado and New Mexico. But everybody else out west is quiet. I mean, enjoy your weather. It's nice. There's nothing to speak on. Temperatures, it's hot, soupy, all the way up into the New England area. I mean, Buffalo to Rochester, the Finger Lakes region, over to even a Tug Hill. You see this area in pink? I mean, this is where you're going to get well into the 90s. Big surge of warmth all the way up into Canada ahead of this system, and just hot, soupy air down for the southeast. Nothing too crazy for this time of the year whatsoever. Just kind of normal run-of-the-mill summer type stuff across the middle of the country. Pretty warm day across Montana, warming on up across the western U.S. Above average temperatures have settled back in for, say, the Pacific Northwest. So, severe weather chances for tomorrow. As of right now, we have a marginal risk across areas of Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, down to the Red River area. And then we have a marginal risk from New England down to areas of the Mid-Atlantic. So nothing super worth getting detailed on at all, but just a risk of severe weather. Now, there's a flash flooding threat tomorrow, your Sunday, across areas of Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, down into Texas. In this yellow area, 15% risk of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in a given location. And then we have a flash flooding threat once again for New York, down to PA, down to Maryland, Virginia. 15% risk, no 40% risk or anything like that. But I do think a flooding risk will begin to grow for the state of Florida. We'll talk about that here in a second with the update on the tropics. But moving it back to this, day 3, just a large area of the country runs a risk of thunderstorms in the light green, but there is a level 1 out of 5 marginal risk up here for areas of the Dakotas and the northern high plains. Anything past this, let's see, no. So nothing past day 3. And then we'll look at day 3's excessive rainfall outlook. The only area I'd really watch out for is Florida. Your flash flooding threat will begin to grow. So basically the southern half of the peninsula of Florida has a 15% risk of flash flood guidance being exceeded within 25 miles in a given location. I wouldn't be surprised if day 4 shows a slight risk for Florida also. So we'll watch that. Now, to kind of round the video off, we'll give you an update on the tropics. I'll start off by saying no tropical activity is expected over the next 7 days. We'll start these tropical updates off with this, but they're not showing anything as of right now. I wouldn't be shocked if by the time we got to the end of the weekend or Monday of this coming week, if they do put a 20% risk or a 10% risk of tropical development in the northern Gulf. Before we kind of dive deep into this, I will say right now, for mid-month, they're saying there is a 20% risk off the Climate Prediction Center of some sort of tropical cyclone development. But let's break down model guides, and let's start off Monday morning, July the 14th. So here in the next few days, we'll initialize it like this. There is a low, and this is the GFS. There is a low hanging off, hanging out off the coast of Georgia. It's probably not exactly where this low is going to be. One thing I just want you to focus in on is how a lot of rain kind of groups up here. And as we get into, say, Monday night, look at all this rain. The greens, the yellows, the reds over Florida. I just think lower pressure is going to be hanging out down here. This will continue to bring just tropical rains. And then we get into Tuesday night, we get into Wednesday morning. It's showing some sort of lower pressure down here in the Gulf. Okay, and then we get into, say, Wednesday night, Thursday. This throws a lot of moisture into Louisiana, Mississippi. And it's whatever this is, there's something down here. Some sort of a very unorganized tropical energy down here. Doesn't really develop. This particular run never really gets it going, but you can, if I put this in a quick motion, I want you to keep your eyes down here. You're going to quite literally see what looks like a spin of green stuff. So I'm going to put this in steady motion. See how it looks kind of like a spin? Something tropical right down there for sure. After that, it just looks like very unsettled weather. For people saying, Mitch, man, when is it going to stop raining? Can't get a pool day in, can't get a lake day in, can't get a beach day in. Honestly, I'll be real with you. It doesn't look good for the foreseeable future. It looks like we're just going to have daily afternoon showers and storms. Now you take a look at the Euro, same thing. Initializes a lower pressure right here off the coast of the southeast and just continues to dance a lot of rain across Florida. We got areas of rain across the southeast. We get into Wednesday, and it does show just something down here. Once again, it shows a lot, right here too. A lot of moisture getting slung into the Carolina coastline, Georgia coastline. Just shows just a lot of rain across the southeast. We get into next Thursday. You see a lot of moisture down here. Okay, anything organizing a little bit more? Not really. So, one thing you can look at here, and I always show this when we're leading up to the potential for something, is the lower level energy. So this is energy at 850 millibars, 4,000 to 6,000 feet up in the air. When we start to see a lot of yellows and oranges on this particular output here, this is where we have more energy in the lower levels of the atmosphere. When we start to see these wind barbs kind of circle around each other, so we have a lower level spin in the atmosphere. And sure enough, you can see it pretty clearly. Some sort of spin down here as we're getting into about midweek next week, and this finally gets thrown into the Gulf coastline late next work week. So something tries to get going down there. Now, if we look at, say, the GFS ensemble run, this is between now and about a week from today. So next Saturday morning, it does show some members forming in this area, even a couple members forming sort of off the coast of the southeast. It's not many, and this is, I don't know, a few members out of, man, why do I always forget? This is a few members out of, I have to do a better job at remembering this. GFS members, that's 21. I always want to say 31. It makes up 21 members. I got to get that memorized to seem a little bit more professional to you guys before we get into the heart of hurricane season. For some reason with the GFS ensemble, I always want to say that there's 31 members, but there's 21. So there is, a few to several members that do form something out of the 21 members of the GEFS. So, and also we'll show you, say, the Euro ensemble. And it forms a couple members too, but this is out of 51 members. So it's even less impressive, if you will. One thing I'll tell you, though, a lot of rain coming regardless. So this is rainfall between now and the next week. Looks like you got plentiful rain across the southeast, but look at Florida. A lot of rain across the state of Florida. And we'll just go on and zoom into you folks down here. This is rainfall, like I said, between now and next Saturday morning. It's probably going to be areas where you get more, but this yellow area, folks, that's over 4 inches of rain that is forecast from the Weather Prediction Center. The entire state of Florida gets multiple inches of rain, more than likely. So definitely some wet times ahead. But that's all I got as far as an update on the weather. Let's bring it back to this, and let's give you a Bible devotion. Probably be a little bit of a shorter one this morning, but hopefully, I always say that and it ends up being a longer one. But this morning we're in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16 through 18. So it says, "Therefore we do not give up, even though our outer person is being destroyed, our inner person is being renewed day by day. For our momentary light affliction is producing for us an absolutely incomparable eternal weight of glory. So we do not focus on what is seen, but what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal." So I wrote a couple things down here. I said, do not give up. Says that clearly in Scripture. Says it in other instances also. And I said, our struggle in this life are light afflictions compared to the glory that awaits. And also put focus on God, make Him priority number one. Saying it in your life is one thing, but when you say it, and we had a sermon on this one time a few years back at my church, but making Him priority number one in everything that you do. So, I said, focus on God, make Him priority number one in everything you do. This will get you through the struggles that come in this life. But in general, the Scripture just speaks on, the things that you're going through. It doesn't even compare to the glory that's on the way. I mean, the just heaven, that heaven is on the way. There's a lot of people that live for this world that don't believe in what we talk about here. And they're just out there living for the world, and unfortunately they're lost. So they probably don't realize what's to come for them. And it's a very sad situation. So we should use this time on earth to spread the gospel in any kind of way we can. That's when I talk about our gifts, our talents, God-given abilities that maybe you have that someone else doesn't have. You got to utilize that stuff. You're called to do so. This time is tough. The world will beat you down. It'll give you an uppercut across the chin. It'll beat you down. It'll drag you down. It'll keep you down for as long as you let it. But we're not called to stay down. We're not called to just give up. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that let the blows of life just keep them down so long. And just they're grounded so much that God can listen. God, I'm not speaking on behalf of God with this, but God can still use that person. But the chances, I think, of God using that person might not be as high as trying to use someone that is really just staying faithful, giving everything they have to get back in a better position, even if it's self-inflicted or not. God's going to use that. God's going to use your comeback story. So I know that's a little bit off track, but, I would say, I would pull from this also, use your time wisely while we're on earth. I mean, this is just, the time on earth is just nothing compared to the time in the afterlife, right? So use it. Don't stay down too long. I mean, you're going to get knocked down sometimes, and you're going to just have to lay on your back sometimes and just kind of reflect on what just happened, but you got to get back up. Sad reality of it is a lot of people just never get back up. And then you're laying in the hospital, reflecting on your life, about to die. And, you just kind of realize that this beautiful opportunity, this life that God gifted you, in a way was wasted. And, that should be people's biggest fear. In my opinion. So, but focus on God. Focus what is not seen. All this is temporary. But don't take all this as temporary as in, don't produce seeds and don't do anything with your life. I think sometimes people hear that and that's what they take from it. Like, oh, well, this life doesn't really matter. It definitely matters. You're put here for a reason. And I really think if you're still living and breathing, and this goes for anybody out there listening that is struggling, if you're still living and breathing on right now, God's still trying to use you, whether he's using you right now or not, but he has a plan for your life. And sometimes things need to be set up for him to step into that plan and get you to follow through with it. So hope that makes sense, guys. And I'm still learning this as I go. So definitely not perfect. I don't try to be. I think you guys know that. I take shots at myself many times in these devotions and get vulnerable for you folks and relatable. But that's all I got, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Appreciate y'all. And, we'll continue to roll through summer. Fall's one day closer. And I can tell you, I cannot wait for it. God bless all y'all. Have a wonderful day. And we'll talk soon.